Divas and Dollies, here I am with another video, and before I even go on to start with this, I just want to show you the absolute chaos that is my G1 Monster High dolls right now. I went and fished all of them out of storage. All of them except for one. I can't find my Skull Shores Laguna, but I was able to find every other ghoul, thankfully. I have a very small G1 collection compared to like my Bratz collection or like I guess my Barbie collection or whatever, but yeah, this is like the disorganized chaos before I go ahead and actually organize it and like tell you all about each and every individual one of them and how I got them. But yeah, stay tuned for that, divas. Here I am with a change of clothes, a nice Renaissance top, and my favorite choker. And I'm just gonna start off with my most favorite design from G1 of the dolls that I have. Here we've got Miss Honey Swamp. She is from the Frights Camera Action collection. I got this doll in a lot of other Monster High dolls a couple of years ago. Came with maybe like 4 to 5 of like a bunch of characters that I really wanted. And Honey Swamp didn't come with all of her clothes. She was missing these shoes of hers, but I went ahead and I tracked them down and just bought them separately because I wanted to have this doll in her complete outfit. And here we just have her gorgeous alligator face. Very, very cutesy, very pretty. Not entirely sure if my camera's gonna be able to like pick up on like all of the little details of her, but she's got a bunch of like moldings on her arm. And I know she's supposed to be like, you know, the swamp like bayou queen, you know what I mean? Filming her little documentary or whatever the hell. It's been a really long time since I've seen the movie. I'm not sure if you guys can tell, but mine is yellowing a little bit where her forehead is. It's because of that glue problem that these Mattel Monster High dolls have, especially G1 dolls. I don't know why a lot of people talk about Monster High as if, like, specifically the first generation, as if they were the most, like, robust, like, sturdy toys on the planet. They really weren't, and they aren't. And I know a lot of the G1 purists are gonna, like, grab their pitchforks and try to cancel me or whatever the hell, but like I feel like G3 has like an infinitely better like build in terms of like plastic and the way that the joints are held together, and like G3 dolls aren't as loose as these, you know what I mean? She's not even like a great example of like the loose joints because these joints are pretty tight still. But yeah, I really love her textured fro. I love this tiny little headband hat that they put on her, and I overall just love all of like the colors on her face. Really hope you can see that. She is the first doll I'm going to be showing off, so I'm going to be switching my camera angle in like just a second because I just wanted to put on this, you know, cutesy little Renaissance top. But we got her with her little pearl earrings and this really, really nice dress. And she's just got a bunch of those like moldings and engravings on her legs and whatnot. And I really, really do love this design. I really wish I had more of Honey Swamp / more G1 characters in general, but for now I'm just gonna have to be happy with this diva over here. Here we have a quick pan of all of these divas that I was able to set up. I do have quite a lot of Monster High G1 dolls, and as you can tell, I'm not filming this in my bedroom at all simply because they take up so much space. But I am really happy to have the small collection that I do have. And I still really want to collect some of the other characters that I've never had before and just collect some of the other lines in general. I'm really happy that I own a lot of these and that they have a really neat story attached to them because I wasn't allowed feminine things as a kid. I wasn't allowed dolls. I wasn't even allowed to be in the doll section like of the toy stores or grocery stores ever, so you know, just being able to own these and like being as impacted as I was by like the media of this franchise, you know, it's really nice to own them now. But getting a little bit too ahead of myself. Back when I was in high school, I was going ahead and just like posting a whole bunch of like Monster High photography on like my Snapchat and whatnot, and one of my classmates from school took notice of that, and she was very nice and very polite about DMing me and like, you know, basically just like asking me if I wanted her childhood Monster High collection. Just because she wasn't doing anything with them, they were just collecting dust in a closet for years, and you know what I mean? I'm sure that they meant so much to her when she was a kid that she just couldn't stand like not having them like be enjoyed by somebody, you know what I mean? So, she hit me up and we chatted a bit, and then a couple weeks later, she very graciously, for free, gave me a whole bunch of her, childhood Monster High doll collection. She gave me this Jackson that I am holding right over here. She gave me this Day at the Mall Frankie, this Nephra over here, this Operetta, this Cleo and Deuce, as well as this Skull Shores Ghoulia. She also gave me this Toralei over here, as well as this Rochelle Goyle and Miss Skull Shores Abby. She also gave me one of these Rochelles over here. I believe it is this one, who is not holding her purse right now. I was able to find this diva, funnily enough, like later at Walmart, and she just happened to be like dead stock that they finally put out or whatever, but I fear I am getting ahead of myself again. Those were basically all the ones that she gave to me for free, mind you. And this girl wasn't even like a good friend of mine. She wasn't even like somebody that I like really talked to in the hallways either. She was just like an acquaintance who I had maybe 1 or 2 classes with in middle school, and she just decided to be generous and like give the gay boy all of her childhood Monster High dolls, you know what I mean? And I was just really floored, that like she didn't want any money for anything, because I know a lot of these dolls look a little bit incomplete now, but when she gave them to me, they were literally all complete. They had their diaries, they each had their stands, their pets, all of their accessories. I do have a lot of their stands and like pets and stuff and accessories like in storage right now, just so that they don't get lost and whatnot, but she literally basically just like gifted me like her whole entire childhood collection when I was 15. And that was honestly one of the nicest things that an acquaintance has like ever done for me, honestly. I always love to tell the story to like my boyfriend and whatnot, simply because he likes to listen to it, but yeah, it was just incredibly nice, and it was just a really, really generous like thing that somebody did for me. Like, I can't even put into words how much it really meant to me at the time, especially now too, given that it's like more than a couple of years later, and like, everybody's like grown up and whatnot, but like, yeah, that was one of the nicest things that essentially a stranger has ever done for me. She just saw that I took an interest in Monster High, and she just very graciously wanted to, see somebody enjoy her old childhood collection. And that's honestly one of the nicest stories that like I'll ever have to tell about my dolls. Like I said, me and that girl weren't friends, but like, the power of friendship, y'all, the power of being kind to somebody, of being generous, you know what I mean? But yeah, now that I've gotten very, very ahead of myself, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about each individual diva. We have Miss Day at the Mall Frankie over here, the only Generation 1 Frankie doll that I have besides 13 Wishes Frankie. I don't know why I didn't decide to bring her down for my display, but I'm gonna bring her down later. But here she is in all of her G1 glory. These dolls do look a little bit sticky in the face, and it's just because of that glue seepage problem that I've already mentioned before. I uploaded a tutorial on how to get rid of it because I had another Mattel doll that was having this like glue like issue or whatever. So I'm honestly gonna have to take a lot of these individually one day and just like treat them for glue, because only some of them have been treated, unfortunately. But we have this very, very cunty ass side ponytail with this fringe. And I really do love this Frankie because of like the colors that they use. The hair does look a little bit yellowed, but it was once platinum white or platinum blonde, I believe. And it's just got those little streaks of black in them. I think this doll was a Costco exclusive or another like Slim Box exclusive doll that like was sold with like a little What's It keychain and whatnot. But it's really incredible that I was able to end up with this diva because, that very nice person gave her to me, along with all of these other dolls that you see here. I really do love G1 Frankie, especially her design, and like all of the stitches everywhere and the neck bolts. And this outfit in particular is like just so of its time. I think this doll came out in 2011, and like I remember being on Tumblr back then when I really wasn't supposed to be, and just seeing a whole bunch of like the fashionistas blogging and like wearing outfits with these like vests and like these short dresses with leggings and whatnot, and the little like wedged heels. But yeah, I really do love the way this doll looks, and I was incredibly happy to receive her amongst all of the other dolls that day. And we have Miss Nephra Denial over here. She has everything except for her ring, because I was playing with her a little bit too rough when I was like 15 and literally lost it like a dumbass. But here she is in all of her G1 glory. Again, she's looking kind of sticky on the forehead because of that glue issue, but she's basically complete, and I'm just incredibly floored to have her, considering how much a lot of these original dolls go for on eBay. I cannot believe it's half of those prices, first of all, but here we've got her, and I really just love the way that she kind of like towers over the rest of the ghouls. I mean, she is supposed to be older than them anyways, so I'm glad that they added that to her design. Next, we just have Miss Operetta over here, daughter of the Phantom of the Opera. I undid her original hairstyle and lost her mask. Again, I was literally an adolescent teenager when I got most of these, so I wasn't as great of a doll collector and like keeping my things squared away neatly, but here we have her looking like a diva. She still got all of her original accessories, except for that eye mask that I have to find. And I believe she still has that teeny tiny little ring on her finger with that very yellowed elastic. But I do really love the colors of Miss Operetta in general. I know that like red and purple don't generally work together as like a color combination, but I think Operetta pulls it off very well. And this face is just the most like demure, elegant looking face I've ever seen. And truth be told, she doesn't really need the eye mask, because I think that this little like engraving in her head sculpt is like the prettiest thing ever on like a Monster High doll. And right next to her, we've got Miss Monster Exchange Marisol Kochi, I believe her name is. I took that ugly ass headband off of her and just replaced it with like a satin ribbon, because I think it looks much better that way. She has a lot of like extra cool like details on her, like this paint where her hand should be, slash like the extra paint where her like fur is and whatnot. For some reason, Marisol Kochi looks the most like a G3 Monster High doll out of like any of these divas. Not that they were gonna look like G3 and G1 at all, but like I feel like this was the first indicator of like what Monster High was gonna become, you know what I mean, in the future. I mean, got all these bright colors, we have all these like extra monstrous looking details, you know, like her claws and painted nails and like all of the like fur molded and stuff like that. She's also got the biggest feet, I believe, out of every ghoul, because she is the daughter of the Sasquatch, or the Peruvian, like Bigfoot or whatever the hell. I honestly forgot her backstory, and I'm gonna have to do more research and like watching the show, but I do remember when her webisode came out, and how she was kind of basically just like hearing all of the girls be like down and sad on their look and about their appearances and about this and about that, and she was basically just like, why are you baddies being all insecure all of a sudden? Like, stand up. And then they stood up and they never were insecure again, on camera at least. But yeah, got Miss Marisol Kochi over here. A lot of these dolls are incredibly hard to stand slash pose, and that's why you see some of them like literally laying on the ground right now, because G1 dolls are the most like, I guess, what do you call them? They're just like not sturdy at all for some reason. Like you can't even like really put them other places and like leave them up all the way. Minus her, she's got big feet, so she can kind of just stand wherever, but a lot of these dolls get very loose over time and can't really hold a pose, unfortunately. Moving on to this Cleo and Deuce over here. I also got them from that friend that gave me those dolls, or that gave me that lot of dolls back in high school. I don't know where Deuce's glasses are, but they're probably somewhere in storage, because I just didn't want to end up losing all of the small pieces. This face card on Cleo is honestly maybe the best she's ever looked in G1. And I know that this is literally her first release, but come on, y'all, just look at that face. I have a rubber band over her head right now just to keep her, like, bangs, like, down and, like, not all over the place. And this doll is, like, unfortunately experiencing one of the most terrible cases of, like, that glue head syndrome that I've ever witnessed on a Monster High doll. I'm going to have to, like, fix her up one day and whatnot, but for now, she's just gonna be looking like this. I really, really do love how people say that G3, like, doesn't dress emo and that Monster High before was, like, so emo and edgy and blah, blah, blah. Mind you, like, Wave 1 Cleo is basically just wearing a flyaway top and a jumpsuit. Like, be so fucking for real right now. Like, where's the emo at? Where is the emo at? You know what I mean? Like... But anyways, as you can see, Deuce fell flat on his face. He can't really stand up on his own. Neither can Miss Jackson Jekyll over here. These twinks are kind of strung at the hips by elastic, just like a lot of their earlier G1 Monster High dolls, so unfortunately they're like very, very, very loose. But here we have him, trying not to get turned into stone. But yeah, I really love his head sculpts. I remember seeing this Cleo and Deuce 2-pack at the stores because Monster High was such a big deal at the time that they were literally stocking them up in the front of the store sometimes. And I just remember being in complete awe and just like completely shocked that dolls could be like this glamorous and that they could look like that, you know what I mean? Like beforehand I had only ever seen the Bratz dolls, the Barbie, like all of the clean-cut princesses, and like nothing that deviated from like the norm really. And then I saw these Monster High dolls and it was like literally all over. I didn't even know that they had dolls at first, fun fact. I remember the New Ghoul at School premiere webisode premiering on Nickelodeon during, I think Halloween 2010 or 2011. And I remember catching it airing on TV and just being absolutely blown away by like just the characters and the story, you know, in general, and like Frankie Stein being like the unintentional like main girl of it all, and like being the new ghoul at school and having to deal with all of these new emotions and like trying to fit in, just really struck a chord with me when I was very young, and like I could really see myself in her, for sure. And then I saw the rest of the TV adverts and figured out that they had, you know, a website that you could go play games on, and then I started to see the doll commercials, and then that was over for me. You know what I mean? I thought that these dolls were the most beautiful works of art as a child, and I still kind of do think that they're works of art, you know, as like a grown adult, but yeah. Monster High definitely meant so much to me as a kid, and it was very, very unfortunate that I couldn't have any of the dolls, really. I could just watch the webisodes in secret and play the video games and, like, play the Flash games on the website, but yeah. Moving on from Deuce and that little rant, here we have Miss Jennifer Long. She's missing a lot of her stuff, and I believe this top is a little bit cut at the sleeve. But at least she's got her shoes and her dress on and her factory style in, so I can't really complain. She's also got her little tail. I really like this doll because I think she's incredibly striking, and I just love the fact that she's based off of a Chinese dragon. And this skin tone and like the iridescent, like metallic, like sheen of it all just looks really pretty on her. And I think it goes well up against this like kind of neon green with like black streaks that she's got for hair, and she's got on all of these molded scales. And I think that's another thing that Monster High G3 or not G3, whoa, I think that's another thing that Monster High G1 got incredibly right with these dolls, especially with like the first wave and whatnot, like giving each of the different characters like all of their little monstrous quirks and stuff like that. Like Frankie's neck bolts, or like Laguna's webbed hands, or like fins, or whatever the hell. I know this Laguna's missing them, but like all of the little monstrous parts about their body and whatnot is definitely what like sold me. Once I finally saw some of them in person, I had a bunch of cousins that had these dolls, a bunch of peers that would bring them to school and whatnot, and once I finally got to see them up close, I thought that they were just the most intriguing things on the planet, you know what I mean? Like, nobody was really doing dolls like that at the time. Especially Mattel, like they weren't doing dolls like that at all before Monster High. They were just doing this simple standard cookie cutter Barbie and like princesses and pop stars and whatnot, and Monster High really changed the game, honestly. And I feel like Genifire is like a really good example of like what they started to introduce with like a lot of the characters in terms of like their monstrous like the designs and whatnot, and like the body sculpt. And then we have Miss, I think this is Skull Shores Laguna or Gloom Beach. Somebody better correct me in the comments because I honestly cannot remember. She's a little bit worse for wear. I don't know what happened to her in storage, but she's just got a little bit of a lip chip. But honestly, it kind of goes with her. I mean, she's supposed to be an undead zombie after all, so she still kind of looks like a supermodel anyways, but here we have her in all of her loose glory. I think she is also strung with elastic at the hips. And this is some really, really poofy Kanekalon hair that I am going to have to fix as soon as this video is over. But yeah, here we've got Miss Ghoulia over here. I don't have very many Generation 1 Ghoulias, unfortunately, which is a damn shame because I think that her face sculpt is one of the most prettiest Monster High sculpts ever. Especially the blue that they always like, especially like the color of blue that they always put her hair in. I love it. But right next to her, we've got this Scarus Ghoulia, I believe. Now they are both missing their glasses, unfortunately. I don't think I got either of them with their glasses. This one came from the girl that gifted me her childhood collection, and this one came in that lot that I got a bunch of the other dolls in. But yeah, I really love her high ponytail and like the little fringe that like frames her face and whatnot. Plus, I just love how like absolutely zombie-like she looks. Like, she is one of the most undead-looking dolls that I have, honestly. And then we have this really interesting Gigi Grant. She's from one of those lines where they were like already starting to phase out G1 Monster High and kind of like start to go into their reboot era, or error, if you will. So this is just like a basic Gigi. She just had like a high ponytail and came in this like regular slim box and whatnot, and I got her at Five Below back in like 2017, I believe, which is wild because I've seen this doll go for upwards of $160 plus shipping on eBay. I gave her a glue treatment, and her hair is honestly much better because of it. That's why it's not in this high ponytail. It's really silky and soft saran, and this is unfortunately the only Gigi that I have. And I say unfortunately because I do love this character, love her personality, and I do love the role that she plays in 13 Wishes. So I am happy that I was able to get her this. I believe my older sister paid for this doll too, which is very neat to remember because I literally can still remember being like an adolescent and going to the store and like finding her there, being shocked and surprised, and then my older sister offered to buy her for me. So that was very, very nice. And here we have this very, very disheveled looking Draculaura over here. She was my first Monster High doll ever. This is the original Ghouls reproduction from 2015. So she is basically like the cheapest of like all of the reproductions, honestly. I low-key tried to model my outfit after her today, but I'm not sure if that's what it was giving at all. But here we are with this diva over here. I believe all she came with was like a black stand and like a hairbrush. I just ended up putting her on this pink stand that belonged to somebody else who I can't remember off the top of my head. But yeah, I got her on clearance for $6 in, I think, 2016 or 17. She was my first Monster High doll / one of the first dolls that I ever owned. And I literally had to buy her in secret and like be like an in-the-closet doll collector for like maybe a year and a half before I could actually be out and proud about my interests and blah blah blah, because I really stopped giving a fuck about what people thought and what my family thought. But yeah, The first Monster High doll I ever owned. She is very, very loved. I lost the necklace that she came with, and I lost her original stand and her brush, but I literally would never give her away for anything. I would never trade her away for anything either. I just have to go ahead and fix her up, but she is literally that girl, and I do not care how cheap she is and how many corners they cut. This is literally my first ever Monster High doll, and I remember being so incredibly ecstatic for her. Just because she was my favorite character, like aesthetically, of like a lot of the crew, like, and like the original ghouls and whatnot. And like I remember just like she became my comfort character as a child and like as a teenager and whatnot. So when I found her on clearance at Walmart for like $6, I just had to jump at the chance. I literally found her, went to the stationery section, bought 2 giant notepads, sandwiched her in between them, and then bought it, and then my parents didn't question a goddamn thing when we walked out the store. And I just remember having the perfect weekend with her. I bought this doll on a Friday, and I just remember like come Sunday night I didn't even want to go to bed because I just wanted to stay up playing with her. But yeah, that's Miss Draculaura over here, looking like she got hit by a bus. And then moving on to Miss Toralei Stripe over here. She came from that lot of dolls that very, very nice girl gave me at school. And just like every other doll, she came complete. I have her on, I think, her stand right now, and her pet is away in storage, and so is her bag, but I loved the way that this doll looked. I accidentally brushed out the striping in her hair as a teenager because I was just way too excited to have these damn dolls and to finally have some Monster High dolls to play with. But I really, really do love her face. Like, it is so pussy kitty cat meow meow, you know what I mean? Like, just look at this. Look at the cheekbones, look at the lips, look at the eyes. This feline is such a baddie. But I wanted to beat the crap out of her when I was a kid. I really hated the way that they characterized her personality in the webisodes. Just because I don't like bullies in general, especially as a child. But yeah, here we have Miss Toralei over here, being a diva. And then we have Miss Rochelle Goyle. I've got 2 of them. This is the one that girl gave me in that lot. So this was her childhood doll. But I'm gonna be speaking more so on this diva over here because it's actually a really nice story with her. So the week that I was turning 15, I went to Walmart with my friends, and we were kind of just like running around and like being little menaces, honestly. Not like a nuisance or like belligerent like these new children are and whatnot, but we were just, you know, running amok and looking around every aisle. And I remember seeing this baddie like all dusted up in the bottom of some cart that they had just brought out from the back. And right next to her there were like some other like out of stock dolls that have been out of stock for maybe like 3 years or something, but she caught my eye in particular because here I see the like transparent like cellophane like siding of her box, and I'm like, what is this 2011 2012 ass Monster High doll doing here at this Walmart in like 2017? I was floored as hell. It was a perfect opportunity for me to get her, and I paid for her, and I think she came up for around like maybe $15-ish, which was very nice because I didn't even have 25 on me. But yeah, that was like absolutely perfect. It's like the universe knew that I had like literally just started collecting these and that I was in search for any that I could find, and lo and behold, there she was, just like dead stock and like completely forgotten for a couple of years in the back until they brought her out for me to get. Sorry this flash is acting a little weird. I've tried several times to try and figure out how to film this to no avail, so what you see is what you get, divas. Here we have Miss Venus McFlytrap over here. Now I got this doll during the COVID pandemic. I was bored, there was nothing to do, I only had online school to do, you know what I mean, because I was in high school and shit. And despite everybody's attempts to try to convince me to not bring any secondhand items into the house, I went against their wishes and bought this shit on eBay because I was in search for some Monster High dolls because I had nothing better to do. I was depressed, I was lonely, all I was doing was watching Monster High webisodes, and I was just feeling incredibly just down in the dumps, really. So I went ahead and I purchased this Venus, and she came with her full original outfit and her pet. And I got her for around $15, which was quite the steal for getting a Monster High doll on eBay post like 2017, you know what I mean? I'm really glad that I was able to get her and that they were selling her for as cheap as they were. She came literally in no time. And then right next to her, the one who face planted, we have Miss Rebecca Steam, the OG diva doll herself. I love her personality as well in the webisodes. I feel like her and Gigi are like my two top favorite Monster High characters. Just because the lore with her and like Skulltermit Roller Maze really fascinated me, and like the way that they literally had Ghoulia put her ass back together in the end was just like really fun, and like I just had to end up having the doll after like all of that lore. She is one of like my favorite like body sculpts of the Monster High dolls from G1 because she has these little cogs that can turn. She has this like robotic like body sculpt and whatnot that looks like she's literally like held together with like screws and nuts and bolts and shit. Plus I love these rocket boots and the detail of them, even the bottom of them. Like, oh my goodness, like if you're gonna do a doll that's like steampunk or like I guess robotic inspired in any way, this is exactly how the hell you should do it. But yeah, I ended up getting her after Miss Venus Flytrap during COVID because once again I was bored, I was lonely, I had nothing to do, I was watching the webisodes, and I just wanted more of the characters. I believe I got her for less than $25, thankfully, because a lot of people were overcharging and overpricing their dolls back then just because they were like Y2K or like late 2010s dolls and like already nostalgic by that point. But yeah, really happy to own her. I'm really happy that I was able to get her during COVID. My dolls and my boyfriend were like some of the only things that were like getting me through like dozens of like depressive episodes and like anxiety and panic attacks, you know what I mean? So I'm really, really grateful for that, and that my parents were at least able to give me like somewhat of an allowance to get these dolls, because a lot of the dolls that I got before I got a fucking job were, you know, just little allowance dolls that I could afford with my little $20 that my parents would give me here and there, pocket change basically. Here we have Miss C.A. Cupid. I think she is the first doll that I ever got off of Mercari. And if y'all don't know what Mercari is at this point, it's basically just eBay but like blue and like with an M font on the app, like icon. I believe I paid less than $14 for her in total, and it's mostly because she's missing a couple of things, especially her like wings and whatnot. But she does have her earrings at least. She is one of the first dolls I performed a glue treatment on with OxyClean, and I was able to remove all of the glue from her head. I just haven't been able to put in her like factory hairstyle. I'm gonna have to learn how to do that at some point, but here we have Miss Cupid. She's looking crazy as fuck in this lighting, and I do have to go ahead and dust her off a bit, but I really wanted Miss C.A. Cupid because I thought that, you know, her pink and black design was like one of the best ones, besides Draculaura's, of course, because I know they like to put her in pink and black mostly, but I really loved the movie that she debuted in too. I think that was one of the first CGI specials that Monster High ever released. If not that, then Fright On, but I remember really liking her character in that little like special, and I just wanted to go ahead and get her, so I got this doll, I believe, in like 2021 or like, yeah, I think it was 2021 when I got her. But she was very affordable, thankfully, and I know she's missing a lot of her pieces, but I am glad to have just the base doll with like all of her limbs attached to her, because unfortunately that's like how low the bar is for like getting Monster High dolls on eBay because people overprice, they overcharge, they try to sell you dolls with haircuts, with stains, with no limbs for over 45 fucking plus, even back then still, so I'm very happy to have her at least. I display her in my room next to pictures of me and my boyfriend because she is a matchmaker after all who loves love. And I high-key still want to get her Monster High like redesign, or Ever After High redesign. I only have one Ever After High doll, and that is Madeline Hatter, so hopefully I can grow my Ever After High collection one day. Right next to her on the ground, looking like an actual corpse, we have the OG Spectra Vondergeist. I loved Spectra Vondergeist as soon as she came out. I remember when I was a kid, before she came out, maybe like a year, I wanted to write a letter to Mattel so that they could make a Ghost Monster High doll, and I unoriginally called her Ghosty. And then a year later, Spectra came out, so y'all can literally thank me for that. Y'all can fucking thank me for manifesting her. But anyways, here we have her in all of her sticky, fried up glory. I only say fried up because this Kanekalon hair needs like a good wash and condition. And her face is kind of yellowing because of that glue problem that these dolls have. I'm gonna pretend it ain't there, simply because this is an original. I think that the new Creep production that they released has polypropylene hair, so I'm honestly good on that, and I'm just gonna stick with the original. But I'm really happy that I own her because, like I said, I wanted a ghost character at Monster High, and I was gonna write Mattel, and not even a year later they came out with this diva, and I was absolutely fucking floored. And I always loved her because of her transparent limbs and just like how, you know, dark she looked, you know what I mean? Like, this doll used to kind of like scare the crap out of me, like on store shelves whenever I would see her. And that was one of the only Monster High dolls that ever had that effect on me. I used to actually find it kind of cringe whenever other kids would be afraid of Monster High dolls because, bitch, what do you have to be afraid of? She's literally wearing Pride Month merch and heels. Anyways. But yeah, here we have Miss Spectra over here, trying to gather up some ghostly gossip on these divas. And then we have Miss Dracubecca over here, missing her wing. She's another one of those dolls that my Walmart stocked like years after she had released, because I guess they had left her in their back stock room and forgotten about her. I know she released in 2014 for the Freaky Fusion line, but I didn't find her until 2017, and she was on clearance for about $14 anyways, so I think that was a really neat deal at least. She might have been my third ever Monster High doll, so I really, really love her for that because I remember my collection was like just this Draculaura at one point, and I was so incredibly jealous and envious of like every other little gay boy who could have all of these dolls, you know what I mean? But now I have a whole bunch of these other ones to choose from. And here we have the OG Twyla, looking incredibly like pale and cryptid like almost. I do love her G3 redesign and how I guess just like brightly colored and like lively she looks. Because this doll over here is just like a little bit washed out, you know what I mean? She's always looked like that. And her hair is kind of giving like Hannah Montana to me, season 1, with the bangs and the long hair of it all. She's another doll that I did a OxyClean glue treatment on, simply because she had another one of the worst cases of glue seepage that I've ever seen. I don't have her complete because I got her in that lot with a bunch of the other dolls that I mentioned off of eBay. But I think she's complete enough. She has her shoes, she's got some accessories, and she has her main outfit, so I really can't complain that much. But I really wanted this doll because I thought that her and Howleen's friendship dynamic was like really sweet in 13 Wishes, and I saw a lot of myself in Twyla because she was just the timid girl who wanted to kind of just like always be in the shadows and like didn't really like noise and She just wanted to be like out of the spotlight, really, and like I could really relate to that back when I was a kid in like early childhood. Not now though, because I'm so outspoken and like loudly me, but like I love my girl Twyla, and I especially love her G3 redesign. Next up, we've got this Dead Tire Draculaura. I believe that she was also given to me in that lot of dolls from that girl in high school. So that's really, really neat. I keep calling her that girl and just referring to her as that girl simply because I don't want to put her name out there on the internet. I don't know if she would want me saying her name anyways or whatever, so yeah, just trying to keep it anonymous here. But yeah, she was given to me in that lot of my schoolmates' childhood Monster High dolls, and I'm really happy that I own her because I really love the 2D animated like counterpart of Miss Dead Tire Draculaura and like the commercial and whatnot. I still really want to get more of the OG like Dead Tire dolls from Wave 1, especially Laguna Blue and that fucking hydration station. I think that doll and that playset goes for like over $500 now. But anyways, we have that diva over here in all of her PJ glory. This was the second Monster High doll that I ever got. This is Dead Tired Cleo, and I got her at Walmart for I think about $15 to $20. I don't know why, but my Walmart seemed to have like a lot of like Monster High, like I guess back stock or whatever the hell, like years into their G2 reboot. So that was good for me because I was just starting to get into these dolls. I lost a lot of her pieces because I was like 13 to 14 when I got her. And like I said before, I wasn't as good of a doll collector back then, keeping all of my things in check, but I absolutely loved this doll, and I was so incredibly happy to have a Cleo, because it was my dream to have like one of each character as a kid, and I still don't have one of each character from G1, but like I'm slowly working my way towards that. And she was the second one off of the list of characters of the main cast that I wanted to get. And I remember showing her to my friend one time when we were hanging out in my room and just like having a little Monster High doll play date because he was like, oh my goodness, you collect Monster High dolls, I used to love them. And then that was it, you know what I mean? There we were, 14 years old playing with Monster High dolls. And that's history, and the rest is history, you know what I mean? Right over here, we've got this 13 Wishes Cleo. I believe she is the Cleo that came in that playset that came with like something. I don't remember what the playset consisted of, but I do think that she is the doll that came with it. She does not have any of her other pieces too, and these are not even her shoes, I don't think. And I got her in that lot with Miss Honey Swamp and some other divas around here. I kind of need to work on her bangs a little bit because they look a little bit bent out of shape, but she's honestly serving as much as she can right now. And she kind of looks a little bit like Demi Moore to me in the face for some reason. Moving on. We've got Miss Claudine Wolf over here. She is the only Claudine Wolf that I have from G1, unfortunately. I believe this is Gloom Beach Claudine. And do not quote me, but I feel like her face might be a little bit wonky, but it's honestly alright because she's got purple in her hair. And I do love me some Claudines with purple streaks in her hair. This is all that she's wearing right now. I believe I have her little like cover up top like hidden away in storage, but she was another one of those dolls that was given to me by one of my classmates. And I absolutely love her because, like I said before, she's the only G1 Claudine that I have, and she's honestly one of the prettiest ones, to me at least. I believe the only two dolls that I'm really missing from here are Claudia from Fright's Camera Action. I just realized that I forgot to take her out of storage to film this, but I do have that doll, as well as Skull Shores Laguna. Those were the only two that I was literally not able to locate for some reason, but these are all of the divas. Oop. And last but certainly not least, we have Miss LED from the Boo York collection. I can't believe I was just about to end this part of the video, knowing damn well that I had her left to show on camera. I really do love the story behind this doll because one of my school counselors actually got her for me in high school. She had found out that I was a doll collector and specifically collected Monster High and whatnot, and she loved Monster High because her daughter collected them when she was a kid. So one day she surprised me with this new inbox LED, literally out of the random, and like it was the most exciting thing ever. This is literally one of the most special dolls in my collection simply because I've never had like a care professional or like a school counselor or like a teacher or any authority figure of the sort buy me a doll or gift me a doll. So she is very, very special to me. I have her stand and her earrings in storage because I did not want to lose them. And I really, really loved her design because she was like an android robot and not like a steampunk, like, you know what I mean, like steam freaking robot like Rebecca. So I really loved how like, I guess digital and like more robotic she was. But yeah, these are my G1 divas. I might get out my G2 girlies just to show you because I only have maybe like 3 to 4 of them. And I might get out my Frightmares just to show you them, but yeah, that's the end for this clip. So after filming the last clip, I realized that there were 2 dolls that I had indeed forgot to show. This is Swim Class Venus. I think she is the Justice exclusive, or not exclusive, but she is the variant that comes with green eyeshadow. I know that her regular release had like that hot fuchsia pink eyeshadow, but mine is the green eyeshadow variant. Very cutesy, very nice. This Kanekalon hair is very buttery soft, despite how tangled up it looks. And I have this, I think, Day at the Mall budget operetta. She's not in her outfit. She is wearing Dead Tired Ghoulia's outfit, whom another one of my childhood friends like gave to me or whatever. I got this doll off of eBay in that lot with Honey Swamp and some other dollies. Her eye mask is still attached to her because I was not trying to lose that at all. But yeah, she is the budget slim box operetta. I can't remember what the line was called, but she is that diva, and she's just wearing this outfit that my friend gave me. He had Dead Tired Ghoulia as a kid, and all that remained was her outfit years later, unfortunately, so at least he was able to give me that. But yeah, that is all of my G1 dolls. Plus this fishy ass dance class Laguna who is missing her shoes and her fins, but she's really not that important, honestly. But yeah, that's all of the divas. The absolute fucking chaos of me trying to film this damn Monster High G1 collection video. Oh my goodness. Y'all better be grateful. I'm really trying to feed y'all today. I am. Hello divas and dollies. I realized that the footage was like really, really long. I basically ranted for like a bunch of time. Let me know if you want to see a part 2 on my G2 Monster High dolls and on the Frightmares. I'm not entirely sure if like the editing app that I use is gonna like give me any issues if I like add more footage than I already have, so yeah. Let me know if you guys like that, and please, you know, engage and whatnot if you'd like to. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, divas.